You're probably wondering to yourself if you should even be pulling on any banners before the 1-year anniversary, and honestly, that's a good question. But with Durando getting such a huge buff and already being such an amazing unit, well, I mean, shouldn't you pull on this card? And if you want to know if I'm actually being serious, I guess you're going to have to watch the rest of the video. Before we can talk about Durando's debut into relevance, we first have to thank War Division's Calc for all the information provided for this video. Now this is an MRVC and I forgot to look up the English name for it, so I've just put a subtitle down there, but it's, you know, Vargas and Durando and their kid that I guess they have, because why wouldn't two cold-hearted murderers have a small child that they are responsible for? Anyway, the stats on this card are just okay. I mean, it's an MR card, what are you expecting? The dexterity is always welcome, of course, especially on, you know, if it's intended for an MR rarity unit, then yeah, they probably need some dex anyway. The bestowed ability is really interesting. The critical rate up is whatever, that's cool, that's a fine ability. But then it has a Durando ability, and this reads much better than it probably is in execution if you consider who Durando is. But increased defense penetration 20, oh yeah, increased defense 10, that's amazing. And then increased move 1, okay, you know, this is objectively a pretty insane bestowed ability for a unit. And then party ability is increased acquired AP by 30%, which is not a crazy amount, but you know, every little bit helps. And acquired AP up is something that you need to decide for yourself if it's worth it. If you have a group of units and you want them to all use certain attacks on turn 2, or you know, have a certain amount of uses of attacks by turn 4 or something, then you could, you know, test with acquired AP up to see if it's worth it for you. The most common reason to use it is to get a tank to use Taunting Blade as soon as possible to cement their hate for the match. And then if this were to get a future buff with the Elemental 99 VC thing, well, it would get increased critical evasion for Earth allies, which is, I guess that's okay. It's not really a huge deal, but yeah. So we already have an acquired AP up card if we want to just compare it based on the party abilities. This is Fleeting Blossom Banquet, sorry, and it's actually our second card featuring the word blossom, so that's interesting. The card itself is way better than the Durando card. You get 50% acquired AP up, which is great, and then light resistance, you know, for when those Cecils and those Ramses are coming smacking at you. So this is definitely just a better card, and if you're really going hard for the acquired AP up, you're probably going to want to go with this card instead. Okay, so let's look at Durando, because this is the whole reason to pull this card, and this is him in all of his glory. He has 2,300 HP. It's not good. His AP is low. His attack is low. It's low for a unit. It's not actually that low for an MR unit, but it's just low. He's got a little bit of crit rate. His dex is actually already high, and his agility is abysmal. His resistances are also not great. I mean, I guess the pierce is good, and the strike is kind of relevant now. Like maybe Raldor is gonna, you know, you're gonna counter Raldor with your Durando for some odd reason, but he does actually get the Viking skill, so he can, you know, increase his resistance, and then the slash and magic resistance. It's just a bad combo to have, because those are the two most common damage types in the game, and he's weak to both of them. And if we compare him to our UR Viking, which is Yerma, you can see that he almost, you know, has no advantages over her. The one might be the HP, and the fact that he's going to get the 15 defense and then the 20 defense penetration, the extra move. Like, that's all fine, but there's one glaring hole here. He has 47 agility. There's no getting around that. That is unplayable. You cannot use him in that way, even though he's actually a pretty cool unit. The fact that he gets gunner skills, the fact that he gets some cool slash abilities, Vikings are very cool. Like, I think there's actually some things that are pretty cool about him, and then obviously having these other skills is going to be a big deal to give him some survivability, some ability to deal some more damage with the defense penetration, and then just naturally having an extra move. That's great, but it also means you're taking up a VC slot, and it also means that you're playing Durando, so don't pull for this card. So I guess I was kidding about Durando being relevant, but we're going to take a look at an actually interesting VC. This is Typhon or Typhon, whatever you want to call it, and it is a wind VC. It's for wind units, and we'll take a look at why in just a second here. It gives only magic. It doesn't give any attack, and that's okay because we have lots of magic wind units, or like relatively, a decent amount. But it also gets some luck, which is important. That's going to come up, don't you worry. Bestowed abilities, it also gives another 10% luck on max, so already you're getting 10% luck, 32 off the card, and then it gives you some magic, but only if you're a wind unit. So that's great for Ayaka, that's great for, Halloween Little Leela, it's great for Howlet, and it's good for, of course, Queen Helena. And not only that, it's also going to give you a hybrid effect. You're going to get magic attack up, and you're going to get accuracy up. Those are both really strong, really good effects. Now, if you don't have Trousseau leveled, then this might actually be your first magic attack card, and it wouldn't be a bad investment in that way. However, it's just not going to be nearly as powerful as Trousseau, and it doesn't give as much magic, I don't think, on the actual stat. So I don't know, accuracy is never a bad stat to look at either. And then for the possible wind effect only, for the 99 boosts, if we get those, wind resistance 20%, I guess that's good in a mirror match. That's fine. It's always good to just have those options available to you. Now this card, it wasn't good enough apparently, so we're getting a global buff. So the global buff is for wind units only with mace equipable main jobs, and the bestowed ability is magic attack resistance piercing up and evasion up. So without further ado, we're finally getting Arcadia buff. This is so huge. She's needed it so badly. And of course, I'm just kidding. We're talking about Halloween Little Leela. And you know what? When I saw this card, I was scratching my head and I was thinking, why would they do this? The magic resist piercing, that's actually okay. I'm pretty okay with that. The evasion tilted me. And it reminded me of when I was playing trading card games and a new card would come out and everyone would say it would be broken. And then you'd give it like an hour and then you'd be like, okay, actually the card's fine. And that's what happened. I woke up and I was like, okay, you know what? This VC is not so bad, because if you're going to build an evasion team, what are you going to cut to put this on? It only gives evasion to Little Leela. It doesn't give evasion to anybody else. And how many evasion units are magic based, or that you'd want to fit that many magic based on your team so that you would take advantage of the magic attack up? It's very constricting in that way, and evade is very VC heavy and it's very full. So in that case, well, this card could just go on Halloween Leela, and she could be evading because it's giving her 10% luck, it's giving her 32 luck stat on the card, and then it's going to give her evasion up from the bestowed ability. You run a couple other evasion cards or one other evasion card on your team, and then maybe you're just your Leela is super evadey and not your whole team, or maybe you do go full evade and you just get to miss out on an agility card and you put this instead, and maybe you're not looking to take full advantage of all the stats, but the accuracy could help you out. I don't know, but it just doesn't seem as bad as I thought it was, although I still do think, I don't know that we needed a global buff for this card. I don't think that was necessarily something that Gumi needed to put in, but if you max this card, please try it out on Kadia and then get back to me with your results. Okay, so here's our main comparison with Trousseau. That's going to have a lot more magic attack, so 35 total. You get dark resistance, which is an incredibly relevant stat to get, and then 190 magic, so this is your gold standard for magic attack up, and if you can use this on a full mage party, then I think that's better. And then we've got a couple of evasion cards. So the first up is the Winter Moogle, and this gives you 18 accuracy. So it's already better to just use your new Typhon card. I completely forgot the name for a second there. But we also have Blades of Grass. I don't know if anybody is using this right now, but it will give you the most accuracy for your party. So this is your true counter to evasion, or attempt to start countering evasion. So you have a few options. This card is way more attack based. So the nice thing about the other card is it's a magic card, and it gives you more flexibility. Like that's why these cards, like, you can have multiple cards that do the same thing, because sometimes you're going to want to build a magic party and you want to counter evade, and you don't want to put this on to anybody because it gives 36 magic, and then now you have this Typhon card, and you're like, well, this is great. I can use this on whoever, and it's going to give me some luck, which helps with accuracy as well. And that's kind of just like building your pieces. And then when you build a physical party that you want to build some accuracy, you're like, well, I have Blades of Grass now. So there's really like, these cards aren't directly competing for slots, even if they have similar stats. There's ways to include them in different parties, and that's always great. Okay, so there's also an Esper that's coming here, and that's not a typo. He is a beloved sidekick for sure. This Esper is magic based, and I just want to point out that the agility isn't very high, but it's also not low. It's not like your tank Espers that are like 10 to 12. It's just in the medium there. But the magic isn't that like crazy either. Like it's just an okay Esper for the stats. And then the evocation is, they're always like these interesting things that that like you get these weird buffs and stuff, 100% hit chance, whatever. Okay, the panels, these are actually quite interesting. So wind attack up, this is really, really good for all of your wind units because Howlett will use this for his slash attacks. He will use this for his magic attacks. Whereas the card gives you magic attack up, that does nothing for Howlett's slashing attacks, but it does do something for his drain evocation and his jamming thrust. Wind attack up on the Esper is going to just help Howlett out altogether. It's going to help your Halloween Little Leela out together, and then what will help them both as well again is the magic up. And then we get an above average amount of accuracy from this card, which is just good to have. It's nice to give you an extra option to have an accuracy Esper that can free up some VC slots, and then you can take on evade potentially. And the other Esper that we have that has this option would be our two-headed dragon. So that's an attacking Esper. This is a magic Esper. So you could even build this with accuracy and magic up, or maybe some magic resistance, and that would be another way to build this if you weren't building it for a wind unit. But let's face it, this is a pretty specific Esper that you're probably going to be building for a wind unit anyway. So if you don't have Halloween Little Leela, and if you don't have Howlett, Ayaka I don't think is necessarily worth it, and Helena obviously it's not really worth it. So this is probably going to be a skip for you, but we'll go through the pros and cons first to make that final call. Okay, so for this, the Apple card, well, objectively the boost is pretty nice for Durando, and acquired AP is also a fun effect. I think it's like, I literally think it's a very fun effect because using abilities is fun and it allows you to do that more. So that's all I'm going to say about the pros for this card. The cons are many, you know, and the biggest thing is that Durando still needs more attack and agility, and I just don't think there's any reason to go for this. I will mention that if you really like Durando, then by all means you should get this. And then Cabbage was saying in his video that these cards didn't appear in the pool for summoning later, so they're kind of limited. I don't know if that's true for global or not. It's something to keep an eye on. And I say these cards because there is a Seymour card that comes out later that has a boost for him as well, and for Sir O, so just something to keep in mind. Okay, so for the Typhon card, well, magic attack and accuracy are both valuable stats. Magic attack's actually hard to come by, so if you're new, then this could be a good card for you, and you get a UR Esper as well. But this card is insane for Halloween Little Leela. I think if you are a Halloween Little Leela user, you can't go wrong with this card, and it's definitely a good pull. And you know, you get an Esper too, so why not? Well, it's very specific. It's not going to fit every account. It's not going to fit every even team that you want to use. And then hybrid cards, they're always clashing with their individual counterparts that have the stronger stats for just one stat. Now here's the thing. I actually wanted to pull for this card because I use Howlett a lot. And I was back and forth on this, and I couldn't decide what I was going to do. And in the end, I decided my Howlett is already slaying. He's already one-shotting people. He's already doing so much damage. He's so useful in the tower, in PvP, in all sorts of brutal missions. So he doesn't need an extra boost. So I can save my Visior and pass on this. The Esper is really nice, so I'll just get that eventually. The card, I actually don't need that for Howlett that much. So in the end, it was an easy skip for me. And I want you to think about the same thing. Are you already getting as much out of Halloween Little Leela as you want? Is she already a really good unit that didn't need a global buff? Yeah. Then you probably don't need to pull for this card, but if you do, I mean, all the power to you. It's going to make your Halloween Little Leela even better, so. So at the end of the day, it's just a massive no for the apples, and then a maybe for Typhon and Ultros down there. You know, if you have Halloween Leela, then that's obviously going to be a big deal. But at the end of the day, it's your call. I can only advise you on what I think, and what I think, you know, is who cares? So we're gonna see you soon with some Raldor videos. I'm super excited for that. I've already been using him in guild battles, 6 stars today. He is just crushing Agriuses. He did, I almost hit 7k damage on an Agrius the other day with him, so he's been pretty amazing in that regard. So I'll share my team and stuff with you guys later, and that'll be good. So until then, we'll see you guys next time.